Happy Friday, LREA members. It's your president, Teresa Knapp Gordon, coming to you with your fireside chat for today. And today I want to talk to you about the rules and where we are with the rules. So, for 50 years, actually more than 50 years, but we have had a contract, a large contract that looks, that was thick, 100 pages plus, that had all the rules in it. And while we've been under state control, we went from the contract that had all the rules in it to this little document that was 12 pages long that had some of the most important rules in it. And then we have this lovely document, the employee handbook, which has some other rules in it, and that we all know was plagiarized from another school district. And then we have school board policies, which are well over 100 pages, probably more like 300 pages of documents. And there is a category for certified and a category for classified. And a lot of the policies are old rules. And so those, and then we have state law. Let's not forget that either. We have state law, which contains a lot of the rules, and a lot of those state laws were modeled after our P&A and P&As from around the state, because the old members worked hard to get the laws passed that guaranteed smaller classroom sizes and individual planning time and all of those things that we came to cherish so much. So we had all those rules, and now we lost our recognition, which means that our contract is no longer honored, such that it was 12 pages, and some of the agreements that we were still honoring the old P&A language are kind of gone as well. And so basically the rules that we have now that we're playing by are state law, school board policy, and the employee handbook. Those are the three things that factor in right now to decisions being made. So obviously the rule that governs all is state law. If state law spells out something specifically, it has to be followed unless there is a waiver in place. And Little Rock School District has very few waivers. You can look them up online, but most of them most of them deal with teachers teaching outside of their certification areas. For example, the career tech teachers, and the metro teachers, and those people. So that's what the majority of our waivers are. And then we have the calendar waivers, that allow us to start school outside of the defined time frame that the legislature passed. So again, very few waivers to the law. And then so we have the state law, and the state law guarantees you a lot of things. If you ever are bored and want to read state law that governs schools, you can go, if you just Google Arkansas Code, it'll get you there, and you'll come to this page. You have to click OK, and then you go in, and there's a link where you can search Arkansas Code, and in the code you'll see the public school part, and it's divided up into all the different categories. But you can also get to it, or you can read it in a law book. And there are books that are published every year that define all the changes in the code that have been made. And code is just another term for law. So let's see, Title VI in Arkansas law has to do with education, and it covers everything from personnel to to curriculum to finances. It's all under Title VI. So you can go there and read that if you're ever bored and looking for something to do. And then there's the school board policies, and the school board policies are still in place, even though they've all been rewritten while we have not had a school board. You can still go read them on the Little Rock School District website under leadership. And then if you go under leadership, there's a link there to policies. And you can click through and read them or print them and highlight and have fun with those. All the policies are there, but there's a category for certified and there's a category for classified. There's also categories for curriculum and students and all of that too. And some of those apply to the rules for teachers, but for the most part, the rules regarding us are in certified and classified. So you can go there and look at that. And then, of course, the employee handbook is online as well, and you can peruse that at your leisure. So those are the rules. A lot of people don't realize that the grievance policy is still in place too. By law, every district has to have a grievance policy. And the grievance policy was in our P&A, but it is also in board policy. And as the personnel policy committee moves forward, I'm sure that they will be working on the grievance policy and trying to get some of that language back to the strength it used to be. In addition, we had the personnel policy document that had been negotiated that the commissioner refused to sign for 3 years. And so that is where the bulk of our old P&A language is. And I'm sure the Personnel Policy Committee is going to be working to get some of that restored as well. But right now, we have the Employee Handbook, Board Policy, and state law. And so it is important that you know the rules because a lot of principals think that some of the old rules still apply, and that if there aren't rules, they just get to tell you to do whatever. And that is not the case. For example, if you're an educator, if you're a teacher, a classroom teacher, and the principal tells you that you need to take the trash out, that is not in your job description. And that's just an example. I'm not saying that we don't ever take the trash out, because we probably have at some point, but I'm just saying that's not part of your job description. It is not an other duty as assigned, because even the other duties as assigned have to be related to your job description. So that is something that you cannot be required to do on a daily basis. And so there are limits to duty. 60 minutes of duty per week is the max. You cannot be required to do any more than that. You are entitled to 200 minutes minimum of individual planning time. That must be met before duty can be assigned and before any planning time can be used for meetings. So you have to have your 200 minutes. For elementary schools, 150 of that is after school as of right now. We agreed to that. There is some question as to whether that agreement is still valid since the LREA no longer has recognition. And I think that probably could be argued if people wanted to leave at 2:35. But there is a lot of confusion about the rules right now. And all I can say to that is read up on the policies and know what your rights are. And if you think you have something that's grievable, grieve it. A level 1 grievance is pretty easy to write. Basically, it's a letter to your principal saying this was violated and I am filing a level 1 grievance, and I would like to meet with you to try to informally resolve this. And if it can't be informally resolved, we're going to go to the next level. because you are a professional and you do have rights. And I'm not just talking to the teachers, I'm talking to um, all of our members out there that work in our schools. We are not disposable people. And we are not human capital. We have worth, and our worth is in our knowledge. So, if our first priority is, of course, to serve our children, but that does not mean that we give up everything in order to do that. We deserve to be treated with respect, and we deserve to be treated as valued employees. And I encourage you to utilize the grievance process if necessary. Um, and we'll be happy to help you with that. We are actually um, working on helping some schools understand what that looks like, what filing level ones look like, because we know that the rules that still exist are even abused. And, um, you know, for some reason, certain principals seem to think that there are no rules anymore, and that's just simply not the case. So, I encourage you to look at those documents that govern your day-to-day employment and become familiar with what's okay and what's not okay, um, and stand up for yourselves, or call us and let us help you stand up for yourself, because those policies are in place for a reason. The grievance policy is in place for a reason. Um, and you don't get to be abused just because you're an educator. So, so that's what I want to talk to you about today, because I know that there's a lot of confusion. A lot of people, you know, we had it great for a long time. We had a solid contract with all of the rules in place, and everybody knew the rules, and everybody somewhat followed the rules. There always are certain leaders that will push the envelope on that, but for the most part, we followed the rules. Or if somebody didn't, we filed agreements and enforced the rules. And so that has not changed just because our contract went away. There are still rules in place, and you need to know when you're being violated. So, anyway, have a good weekend. Enjoy your half a day today, and try to get out and get some sunshine before the rain comes back. And I will see you next week.